How old do you think I am?
I don't know. I'm very poor at guessing it, but if I had to wild guess, you would be around 50.
I'm almost 70. And the reality...
No way.
Yes, sir.
Hold on 1 second.
I'm almost 70 years old. NBA players that are using this technology. Mike Tyson, the boxer, is using this technology, and
Has he said publicly about this?
Well, he hasn't come out and said publicly because he's a business owner. He's probably looking for a way to generate money from it. But you'll see pictures where he has one of the patches on as he's exercising. And you have to ask, well, why would he be wearing a patch like that? Well, it's because it increases strength. And then I took a picture of myself recently. The person you saw 2 years ago doesn't look like who I am today. People say, are you sure that is you? And I say, absolutely. Well, that's the technology, at work. It has nothing to do with me making a testimony about it. There is sugar and amino acids inside of this little white patch, like a quarter size. Mm-hmm. And when you apply it to your skin, what it does is reflects, because we are all human beings, we put off energy and light. That light is reflected from this patch, and the frequency activates copper peptide, GHK copper peptide. That stimulation is what causes the activation of stem cells. Now, we know inflammation is with autism and Parkinson's and a lot of issues that people have with their brain. But this technology, in the first, before coming to this topography map, she had huge inflammation, cognitive issues. In using it for 6 weeks, the inflammation reduced drastically, and within a month and a half, she currently was clear.
Hello and welcome to Nepal Talks podcast, where I aim to present you successful entrepreneurs and influential personalities so you can get inspired on an everyday basis. Today I have an extreme pleasure to be in conversation with someone who is going to provide a wealth of information about something that I have never thought about, what I have never heard before, and this is going to blow your mind. Ladies and gentlemen, let me have an honor to present to you Sidney Jackson. Mr. Jackson, welcome to Nepal Talks.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here.
Let's begin with something that you can tell our audience to break the ice, right? What do you have? I see that there is this leaflet. It says X39. I've never heard about this before. Let's begin with the introduction of this.
Oh, absolutely. And let me just tell you, I'm happy to be here this evening. But I think probably would be apropos if I kind of share, why I'm here and why I felt that this would be important. But secondly, what has it done for me and what has it done for my family and friends? And I think that'll give us a pretty good understanding of exactly how this technology works in that X39. I'm a serial entrepreneur. I've been in multiple industries, multiple businesses for the last number of years. And in those businesses and different industries, I've learned about how to operate effectively and to get good outcomes. But what I have never prepared for was what I'm doing today. And I had a brother who was researching information about technology that could help our mother, who had double chemotherapy and had problems with arthritis and blood pressure, had issues with just joints and pain. And she was taking a lot of pills. So he researched and found this company and found out they had this little patch like this on my hand. Mm-hmm. And this little patch, like a quarter size. He said, you know what, Sidney, this little patch is going to help our mom. And I said, well, then I'm open to it, but who did you buy this from? Because it sounds like it might be snake oilish. Mm-hmm. And he says, no. You'll see. Just be sure to take advantage of it. And I followed the instructions. In the last 2 weeks of her life, she sang me as a dementia 4, stage 4 patient. She sang a song of thank you and mentioned my name. When I first started the journey as a caregiver with her 5 years before, she called me sir. So it was really just incredible, the impact that I had from that experience. And then
that is because of that little patch that you are currently
Correct. This little
wearing it.
this little technology is incredible. Let me just share real quick. I'm a former athlete, so I have joints and knees and hips that needed to be replaced, but I couldn't replace them, Siddhar, during the time I was taking care of my mom, and I was the only one of 7 that could do that because of my multi-business entrepreneur successes. So I did it, and I had 2 hips that were bone on bone. I had a bad knee that was bone on bone, and this little patch prevented me from taking tramadol and Oxycontin. It relieved the pain and allowed me to be a caregiver. I will also tell you that after my mom earned her wings, I actually had 2 hip surgeries done last year, and 5 months ago I had a full knee replacement. The beautiful thing about this technology was that my incision healed in 7 days. So the nurse that's planning to be there for 30 only was there for 1 week. And there's no infection. I didn't have to use tramadol and Oxycontin and the drugs from pharma. So ultimately, it was a great experience. Only on the knee did I do physical therapy. So it was quite excellent. And I am a representative walking testimony of the technology. So answering your question directly, X39 is a product that started in 2008 when the inventor, David Schmidt, who is the inventor that started back in 2000 with the U.S. Navy, which they had inquired about using technology that would help the Navy SEALs who were driving or driving and being in submarines for a whole day, and they was tired of giving them drugs and pharma to help them be energetic. So ultimately, the U.S. government asked David Schmidt to come up with technology that could help. This technology allowed the U.S. Navy SEALs to perform at a top level. In 2008, the technology started on age reversing, using stem cells. And I always like to ask what people know about stem cells. What do you know about stem cells?
I don't. You've asked me almost 5 times if I know anything about the stem cells, and I was too reluctant to go and do even a research to come up before this podcast, because I wanted to hear firsthand from you. I wanted to understand from you directly, because you were showing that. But before we go into the stem cells technology, tell me, that patch that you just showed and you're wearing, is that a medium or a cure or medicine or a supplement? What is it?
It's it's a device. It's a device that has been researched. It's patented. So it has a patent for the technology. And what happened, David Schmidt developed this technology that it takes light therapy, photobiomodulation.
Photobiomodulation. What does that mean?
That means you take light from your body and it reflects and sends a frequency back to the body, which generates copper peptides. Those copper peptides.
That sounds like a hypothesis to me.
Well, it's patented.
Okay.
You can't take a hypothesis and get a patent. So this is proven, and I'll just show you, real quickly. The patent itself says, and I'll read it to you. It says, according to the embodiment of the invention, anywhere in the human body as shown, is that the beneficial effect of providing phototherapy to the human body, the example of some embodiments are elevating copper peptides, including activation of stem cells. So the technology that took 10 years to build at $4.5 million to bring to market is proven by over 100 medical case studies, as well as a patent that it does what it says it does. And I'm a walking testimony to that. So the stem cells, to answer your question more specifically, it is the only cell in the body. When we're younger, we have plenty of stem cells, and they're working. And what happens after 30 years of age, 50% of those stem cells are no longer active. At age 60, they're almost dormant, 90% plus. So what is a stem cell? It is a cell in the body that is the only cell that can regenerate, maintenance, and grow cells in the body. No other cell can do that. So the magic of technology, and my
what does that constitute to? So stem cells, what does it do? I'm at my 20s and I have enough of my stem cells, versus I'm 45 and I have half of the stem cells I used to have on my 20s. What is the difference in my experience?
Well, it's going to be
Physical experience.
age reversing. So what happens, and I'll just ask you real quickly, and I think I asked you before, so don't use the answer against me. How old do you think I am?
I don't know. I'm very poor at guessing it, but if I had to wild guess, you would be around 50.
I'm almost 70. And the reality...
No way.
Yes, sir.
Hold on 1 second.
I'm almost 70 years old.
Almost.
Yes, correct.
Give me the exact age.
68 and a half.
68 and a half.
I am. In October, I will be 60.
You're not bluffing.
I'm not. I'll be 69 in October. But the reality of what you asked me about what stem cells do and what this technology has done, which is why I'm so excited about it, is that it has changed my biological age of my body. Whereas I'm almost 70, but my body is performing like it's 52. Now, when you think about aging graciously, that is a very, very outstanding. So you don't have to use this technology because you're not well. People use this because they want to perform better. I'll tell you a quick testimony. University of Stanford and its swimming coach, he ultimately took the technology that David Schmidt came up with, and he gave it to 6 of his swimmers. 6 of those swimmers outperformed their records, and they became Olympic swimmers for the U.S. Olympic team. And of course, the NCAA wanted to know, is this blood doping? Are they doing something illegal? They did a big investigation. And what they found out was that this was all natural. It didn't require them to have any breaking of the skin, any increasing or taking medication, and they were able to maintain their record.
Are there any chemicals in it that gets transmitted to the blood and the...
This is non-transdermal. So it's just a little patch like this. And ultimately what it is nanocrystals. There is sugar and amino acids inside of this little white patch, like a quarter size. And when you apply it to your skin, what it does is it reflects, because we're all human beings, we put off energy and light. That light is reflected from this patch, and the frequency activates copper peptide, GHK copper peptide. That stimulation is what causes the activation of stem cells. And I want to tell you something. I firmly believe that David Schmidt is going to be along the lines of Elon Musk when it comes to the technology that he's bringing to the market. My primary care is 88 years old. And when he researched this and investigated it as a double MD, he's a double internist as well as dermatologist. And he said, Sidney, I want you to understand what you have your hands on. And I said, what is that, doc? He says, this is the future of medicine. And I got excited because I already knew what it did for my family. I have many friends. I have a friend of mine who's a Navy veteran. He's taken enormous drugs, narcotics, morphine. After using this for 6 months, he's reduced the morphine and he's improving. I have family members that have diabetes with neuropathy. And in that experience of having neuropathy that you can't function in life, horrible experience. This X39, he applied to both legs, and within 3 weeks, the neuropathy was no more. So the reality is that some people will say, well, what is it? Is it a placebo effect that may come from this? And I would suggest that in most medicines and most technologies, that is a factor that's included in the equation of the successful outcome of it. And I know many of my business partners who are hugely successful said, if it's a placebo, I'd pay for it every day because I have never felt like this before. I'm 69 this year and I'll be 70 the next year. I'm a walking testimony.
But how long have you been using it for?
I've only been on it for 8 months now. I did it for my hips, which I've had fully replaced. I'm almost a bionic man. And I have a full knee replacement that was just done. And in the first 2 weeks of my knee replacements, I had over 120-degree mobility, which is unheard of. So it's very exciting when I think about the testimonies.
What happens when we start, putting it, when you start using it, when you start applying it to the skin, right? Since you've only been using it for 8 months and now you say that you're only 69, we're almost 69 and you look like, 52, 55, 60 at the max, but then that must not have changed in just a matter of 8 months.
Well, I looked at myself 5 years ago, and I looked at myself before I started this, when I did the caregiving. And then I took a picture of myself recently. The person you saw 2 years ago doesn't look like who I am today. People say, "Are you sure that is you?" And I say, "Absolutely." Well, that's the technology, at work. It has nothing to do with me making a testimony about it. It's that the testimonies on our website, sidjackson.com/X39, are huge, where people are coming forward and sharing, including doctors. Doctors are offering this to their patients. We're expanded into over 100 countries. We just opened up in South Korea, Portugal, Australia. We're not in a lot of Southeast Asian countries, so we have an opportunity to open up markets hugely because it's exciting. This little company did $20 million a year for 16 years, offering it to medical practitioners and medical practice. They opened it up in 4 years, and in that 4-year period, from 16 to today, 20 years, the company went from 200 to 300. Last year, the company did $600 million in sales. And it's pretty exciting. I don't think of any other company that has done that.
I'm still on this belief that anything that would reverse the aging factor, the natural aging process in our life, and that, no major media outlets have covered. Has there been any publications, any?
Yes.
Because I'm being very critical. I'm still, like I said, I still don't believe what you're saying, honestly speaking. Apart from your claim testimonials that is listed on your website, give me the account on the publications on the major news outlets, media outlets, wherever you can refer to. Give me
huge amount. The University of Stanford with its swimmers. That's a big one from a collegiate. We have a lot of NFL, NBA players that are using this technology. Mike Tyson, the boxer, is using this technology, and has
he said publicly about this?
Well, he hasn't come out and said publicly because he's a business owner. He's probably looking for a way to generate money from it. But you'll see pictures where he has one of the patches on as he's exercising, and you have to ask, well, why would he be wearing a patch like that? Well, it's because it increases strength, it reduces inflammation, it increases stamina. It's energy and vitality. I'm almost 70, and my energy level is like I'm 30, 35, 40. My mental clarity, I used to not remember things, and I walk in a room and forget why I walked in. That doesn't happen anymore. The restored muscle and skeletal tone is improving to the point where I'm exceeding what my doctor and my surgeons expected. He said, within 4 months, I've exceeded a year's expectation. That's fact. And then improvement of sleep. I'm doing over an hour and a half of REM and over almost 2.5 hours of deep sleep every night. So my sleep, the only big issue with this, and I got to tell you, where people that if they don't do this, they'll have some difficulties. And that is you have to hydrate. Because the reality is, and let me put this in your hand, is that within the first few moments of using this technology, the body is going to be doing some molecular changing, detoxing. So it's essential to hydrate and use electrolytes. The exciting news is that whatever your body weight is, cut it in half in ounces. So ultimately, in my case, I dropped from 335 pounds to now I'm at 270. So my weight has improved. But you have to drink. In my case, I drink about 95 to 110 ounces of water. I use sea salt and coconut water because electrolyte and hydration is essential because of all the molecular change that's occurring. Within 6 months, 1 to 3 months, there's going to be improved appearance and emotional. And then within 6 months, this is a medical fact, and I can provide it for you, is that the heart reduces in age. I currently was a hypertensive, high blood pressure person 2 years ago. I don't take blood pressure medication, which is not typical. My blood pressure is almost like a teenager. I have 112 over 62. And for a 270-pound human being, that's not what you would expect.
You just blew my mind away. When we started this conversation 15 minutes ago, I didn't have any idea that you're going to reveal such a shocking, information. Again, I would take it with a grain of salt, and I'm going to have a well researched before, making my mind on it. But until that moment happens, let me ask you this: what does it take? What does it take in terms of financial investments, in terms of money that you'd like to use this? How cheap is this? How expensive?
There's a number of ways. There are people that absolutely want to just be customers because there is an affiliate program as well. For people that want to be customers, they can acquire it at a discount by buying it wholesale as a preferred customer. That would be roughly about $149 per month for 30 patches in a single sleeve. And then there's an additional way to become a client, a customer, is that you would set up at $99.95 and $19 a month, and you get to try all the other technologies as well. They give you samples on it. Of course, the one that I started out with, I got a wholesale kit because I needed to provide it for more than myself, and I acquired wholesale pricing. So the total cost for this X39 is roughly $3.20 a day.
That's still a lot of money, but then the
$99 a month.
The things that you promised, that thing that you have claimed, if that truly works, then that's nothing in terms of what you are gaining. But again, if that truly happens with the lights off in the age where everybody is claiming they have a breakthrough, every company is claiming that they have a technological revelations that nobody has thought before, and now this one in terms of something that is going to impact a life forever for the humankind, if it truly does what it does, what you claim now,
that's why I'm doing it.
Does this require any prescription? Does this require any medical supervision?
It does not.
Any suggestions from the physician?
It does not. We recommend, for example, the only recommendation I would make if you had a transplant of an organ, I have one of my clients who had a kidney transplant, and the company recommends that they consult with their doctor, and he did. And the doctor says, it's all natural. There's nothing that's going to be different in your body by using the technology, so go ahead and use it. Well, he just got a report last week from his doctor that said, whatever you're doing, keep doing it, because all of the numbers that I'm getting, you've never had before. So we know that stem cells improves the organ transplant process. So when you increase that activity of stem cells in your body, and you're able to have that effect on a person that's very compromised, think about what this will do for someone that's not, and that they may think they're healthy. Because I've had many customers that say, I just want to maintain good health and age graciously. Well, what they find out is that they had some other medical conditions because the stem cells didn't start right away on things they wanted to happen. It actually works in a way and navigates. But let me just say this too, Sadar, I want to make sure it's clear, is that this technology is patented, meaning that the U.S. government, through its patent office, says it is able to do what it says it can do. Because activating the copper peptide, the GHK copper peptide, is a precursor to stem cell activity. And it said that this is not a hope to, wish to. The patent says it, and there are over 100 medical case studies. I'll share one other medical study. A 77-year-old woman who had inflammation in her brain. Now, we know inflammation is with autism and Parkinson's and a lot of issues that people have with their brain. But this technology, in the first, before coming to this topography map, she had huge inflammation, cognitive issues. In using it for 6 weeks, the inflammation reduced drastically, and within a month and a half, she currently was clear. So that's a medical case study that we have the opportunity to use it as a basis of understanding. In your case, because I'm sitting here with you, I'm going to afford you a trial on me, because I want you to have the opportunity to experience, and that's how we do this, and that's why
that would be a fantastic opportunity. Can I take that with me to my primary care doctor? And
absolutely.
Have them take a look at it, so they have their second opinion on it, because I trust you. You and I have
should
had a
and
very
you
good
can.
relationship
Yes.
business-wise since last, many, many months. And it's not that I don't trust you, but again, when it comes to health, when it comes to something that, goes into your body, like, you have to be very
Well,
careful, and you always want to have that second opinion on it.
Well, let me say this. There's no breaking of the skin. This is non-transdermal. There's
And
no
there's no chemical that's being
there's no chemical.
transmitted inside your
Nothing.
body. But how does it work then again?
Well, once again, when you take this patch, it has these nanocrystals, salt and amino acids. When you place it on your skin, if you ever seen guys walk around with night goggles and you look at the body and all the light that comes from looking at the body at night, well, this takes that same basic technology that the body puts off heat. We're a people of light. And ultimately what happens is that when this little quarter patch is placed on the skin, the body reflects light to it. And in that reflection, it reverses a frequency back to the body. There's no breaking of the skin. There's no drugs. There's no chemicals. It's all light therapy. And that light therapy is proven by patent with medical case studies that says you are going to have molecular change. And that's why when people don't drink enough water, I get a call from my customers and they say, I'm having a headache or I have gastro issues. And I ask them, how much water are you drinking? And they say, well, I'm not drinking enough. Well, it's clearly because, you really need to drink water. So yes, you can consult with your doctor.
If that is so simple, it's still, I'm still amazed
It is
why
amazing.
it was not discovered throughout the entire humanity, entire, human civilization, the medical, development that has been done in the last, 50, 70, 80 and 100 years. Why is what not discovered? And second question to you is, if it is that simple, just the amino acids in the outer part of your skin, why is it so expensive, $100 a month?
Very good. Well, the key thing is that we all know about pharma, correct? And the prescriptions and how doctors are attached to that process and how hospitals and ultimately the healthcare system basically sees this as the future. Pharma and the healthcare are spending billions of dollars to gain this technology. That's why David Schmidt had told his investors that he would not bring this to market until it was patented. So he currently has been fighting against pharma, but pharma ultimately recognizes the future is that when you can have your own body through a natural process be able to heal itself, that is an ideal outcome. So ultimately the cost of this to manufacture it, this company currently has a manufacturing process that when it first started, the investment component wanted to charge multiple hundreds of dollars for the package that David said, I'm going to make this available at a reasonable price for people. And he fought them on that and won. So the cost of this should be a lot higher. As you mentioned that with all the benefits of what it does, you would think people would be willing to pay more, and they would. I share with you, my study of stem cells was, from Anthony Robbins. He has in his Life Force book, he talks about going to Panama in Mexico to get in stem cell injections. How much do they cost? Tens of thousands of dollars, and they may or may not work. So for me to spend $3.30 a day for an X39 patch, that's just incredible. People don't know about it, but that's part of the job of our affiliates is to get the word out. Two twins in California, business partner had, and they both had serious health challenges. The one twin has never tasted food, so they've been fed through a tube into the belly. The other was autistic. And using this X39 technology, and this has been very significant to me in making my decision whether or not I wanted to do this as a business. The one twin with autism has started to be more social and starting to be more interactive with others, where that wasn't the case before. But the one that was significant with the two, they would go out to restaurants and visit friends, and they would not only vomit at any moment, but there was a serious problem. He never could eat food. This technology has allowed that child to be able to taste food for the very first time. Now, when I look at those kinds of testimonies, and I've got a huge amount of them, it makes a difference for me to think that this is going to be greater than what Elon Musk has done. That David Schmidt, and this is really his driver, is to make a difference in humanity by offering technology that makes a difference.
So you're not selling something one-off. You're promising something like a money-back guarantee, and not only that, your business model is on a subscription basis. So people always have a choice, right?
They do.
They always have a choice.
They
If
do.
something does not work out well, they can always stop. I think I like that. Thank you very much, Mr. Jackson, for appearing in our podcast. It's been quite a revelation.
Fantastic. Thank you. I appreciate it.